Hi, everybody. Nick Blazer here, back with another Inside Backgammon interview. Just a quick reminder of the upcoming tournaments. I'll be doing commentary. I think, I have the RAC London. This will probably be going on, or have gone on the past week, and then Loot Rocky will be going on when this interview comes out. We'll see. But anyway, check all these out on YouTube. And without further ado, today my guest is U.S. player Jonah Seewald. He's a backgammon coach, makes fun merchandise on Etsy. Famed cigar smoker out at the tournaments as he's showing off now, right? We're getting started. So welcome, Jonah.
Thanks, Nick. Glad to be here, buddy. It's ask me anything kind of day.
Yeah, sweet, sweet. Well, yeah, I think you seem to be like a relatively known name in the community. I guess you teach a lot of lessons, people, at least in the U.S. I don't know if you've made it out to a ton of international tournaments or anything, so maybe you'll be new to that crowd. But yeah, like how much international travel do you get in? I remember seeing you at Cyprus, but yeah,
I
what
went to
else?
Monte Carlo.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
I won the DMP event in Monte Carlo.
Nice, nice. Well done. Okay.
8 single matches, no cube action.
Yeah. Nice.
Genius, right? So that was a lot of fun. It's a cool trophy.
Hell yeah.
That was a cool experience. I won a couple rounds in the main and got punked out, but that was a great experience. I mean, Monte
Yeah.
Carlo is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then I went to the Cyprus tournament, the Arta tournament,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and then I followed that up and stayed and went to the Pasha hotel tournament as
Oh,
well.
nice.
So I was there for both for 17 days. I was
Yeah.
out there, but those are the first two like real international tournaments
Yeah. Okay.
that I
Okay.
played in. And
Yeah.
before that, I played in the Bahamas, the Party Million back in '07.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. I don't know about that tournament, but yeah, different era.
Well, it was 2007. It was a 10K buy-in, one of a kind thing
Yeah.
back then, and I made it to like the round of 32 and then got beat back then. But that was the first one outside the U.S. I went to, but outside in Europe or outside of the U.S., basically the first tournament was Monte Carlo for me, and then
Yeah.
Cyprus.
Well, that's
So,
awesome. Okay.
mhm.
So you've been around the game for a long time, playing in big tournaments, in poker as well. I know. I know you've like had some scores around there too. Um, yeah, I guess I'm not familiar with the era of backgammon where there was a 10,000 buy-in event in the Bahamas or anything
It
like
was like
that.
a one of a kind thing they got organized. It
Yeah.
was like and like it was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah, who was putting
Um,
it on? Like a gambling site or something? Or how
Party
did that
Gammon.
happen?
Party
Yeah.
Gammon.
Okay. Okay. I
Party
remember.
Million. It's like the Party Millions or something. I actually have a really cheap board they gave everybody.
Okay.
Like the ones that grandma has with the leather and it was in the back of her car or something. Like that's the kind of backgammon board they gave away. And
Yeah.
just had like a printed Party Million sticker that they just slapped on the board.
Oh, okay. Okay. Very nice.
I mean, if they paid $10 for these boards, they paid too much. I mean, it's kind of it's kind of fun. But they gave away cool shirts. These like cool like beach shirts that said Party Gammon or Party Million or something on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got a lot of bang for your buck for 10 grand.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's like right in the same time as the big like poker boom after Moneymaker and
Yeah,
everything like that. And all the online sites were doing crazy well, right? Just like couldn't, I don't know, like everyone's making a bunch of money at the time. And they're trying to figure
yeah.
out how to like what else to do with it, what other big events. And sure, why not bleed into backgammon some too? I never got to, I wasn't playing yet at that time. So
Okay.
yeah, was Party Gammon any like was that ever interesting to play on or what was that like?
Party Gammon was great for poker.
Okay. For poker.
Their for poker. Their backgammon was terrible.
Okay,
I
okay.
mean, there was a lot of recreational players.
Yeah.
So, but the software was terrible.
Mm.
The real place to play back then was either they call it Grid Gammon,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It was Games Grid back then, right?
Okay.
They changed the name.
Yeah.
So you either played on Games Grid but I played on True Money Games more.
Got it.
When Troop TMG was going, that was like pretty much where we were, and a lot of us were just spending all our time.
Gotcha.
Like,
Okay. Yeah. So Party Poker took a stab at it, but it didn't go all that well, and they ended up running a big tournament and whatever. Were there any of those big like poker names out at that playing in the backgammon tournament too, or
um,
Gus
I don't
Hansen's one
remember. I
always
don't
had.
remember any
Yeah.
like really big poker players that played in that.
Yeah. Okay.
To be honest, Leo Fernandez is kind of a big poker player.
Okay.
I played him. He mainly went to poker.
Yeah.
During that time, he became, kind of known in poker a little bit there. I don't remember if Gus was there.
Yeah.
But it was, it was a big to do. It was a cool tournament to have, and I actually wish they would move, another tournament there
Yeah.
to Bahamas and run it. It was at the Atlantis Hotel,
Okay.
which
Okay.
is just, that's a cool place.
Yeah.
The rooms aren't the greatest, but like for what bang for your buck. But the venue, the beach, the water slides, that place is just crazy. I mean,
Yeah. That sounds like an awesome vacation. It's always important to me when I'm traveling for backgammon that like I get to enjoy the international trip too, whether it's a beach and sun or some cool city or something like that. Like that makes it. I mean, it's tough to be traveling to these tournaments and have that be like a pure business thing or something, right? For like especially for
sure,
players, right?
sure.
So it's nice if the venue that you're going to is enjoyable. At least it's a vacation.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. You
Yeah.
got, and for the party million, I took my family, like
Yeah.
wife and
Awesome.
kids, and everybody went. And so they got to meet the manta rays and all that, and the ones that have names, and tour the place during the day while I'm playing backgammon. So like it didn't get wasted. Like if I was busy, at least somebody got to enjoy that place, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was kind of cool. And then my wife went with me the whole time to Cyprus too for 17 days.
Yeah.
So that was awesome. And she wanted to go to that one. And then I went with one of my students to Monte Carlo. Cara played open
Yeah.
and stepped up after she stepped up in June.
That's awesome.
So I was just like, we just talked about it, and we're just like, let's just go for it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Of course.
So that's exciting too, to do that, to play on the big stage, and the people are just, that was a lot of fun. Just
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm used to seeing you out at tournaments with like a cohort of students and things like that. But it was the first time that I got to meet any of your family out in Cyprus. That was cool. Are they?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess like how many kids do you have? How old are they and stuff? And is anyone in the family into backgammon, or is it just you?
my son Calvin came to Texas. That played his first tournament.
Oh no way! I didn't get to meet
Calvin,
him there. Okay.
Yeah, Calvin was in Texas. He played advanced right away.
Awesome. Okay. Okay.
I didn't let him play beginner because he plays like between a 10 and 12 PR.
Yeah. Okay.
And he just got started, and he learned pretty fast to play, pretty reasonable. And I was just like, you can't play beginner,
Right.
And yeah, I'm sorry you didn't get to meet him. He's a coffee freak, like you and I. Also.
Oh, dang it! I
He
could've
loves
been rooting
coffee.
for him, man. That's my bad. Yeah, I'm just running to the commentary mic all the time, and it's like I get little short conversations here and there, and get to meet a lot of people, but I don't get to like relax with people as much as maybe I would like. Just on
Yeah, it's
all
almost
day.
like, it's almost like you wish the end of the day ended a little sooner,
Yeah.
so you could chill a little bit, right?
Yeah, longer
a little
dinner
more
break,
social.
something like that. Yeah, all those things.
So he plays,
Yeah.
the youngest, and then my stepson, he's 30. He doesn't play.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
And then like my wife knows how to play, but
Yeah.
she doesn't have it. She knows what's happening when she watches, but she doesn't want to play like seriously.
Gotcha.
Same with my brother. My brother, he knows what's happening. My dad knows what's happening.
Yeah.
But they don't want to spend the time. They just know how much time it takes to get good at the game, and to get great at the game, it's going to take even more.
Right.
And a lot of them have this attitude that if I can't be good at something, I don't want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. That is a lot of people. They don't want to like people like expect to be naturally good at things. I don't know. Maybe I'm just speaking about like a younger version of myself too, right? But yeah, when you run into that wall of like now I would have to study is kind of where a lot of people are just get less interested in games in general, right? Like it's less exciting when it's not just a battle of like natural wit or something like this.
Right. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people are good at a lot of different games.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like they're a little bit. They know poker. They know a little bit about backgammon. They know a little bit of chess. They may know a little pinochle. They may know some board games, even video games. Right.
Right. Yeah.
But they're not great at any of them.
Right. Yes.
But they can compete. They can be a tough challenge.
Yeah.
But they're not like, even close to world class or even expert at these games. They're just good at all of them. Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's fine. If you just love playing games, that's okay.
Sure. Yeah.
But to get good at like backgammon or chess, the amount or poker even to get good, you have to spend an ungodly amount of time in the chair. Even the gifted people. I mean, if you talk to some of the genius of the game that got really good fast,
Yeah.
uh, they didn't do it with an hour a day.
No. Yeah. Right.
I mean, let's be honest, right? They
Yeah.
were all day,
Yeah.
all day.
Yeah. I
You
find
know.
that's like a big differentiator with top players is like how much they're driven to study, how much they're capable of studying, and also like what they get out of that study. And like the absolute top players can like seemingly spend all day and retain all of it in some very efficient way where they're getting a lot
Hmm.
out of that time too. Where like I have little problems with like focus and am I like really going to retain the thing that I'm studying, or maybe it starts to be like stressful to study too much and things like that too, and I have to limit it a little bit to make it efficient, you know?
Well, how
Yeah.
much do you study? How much do you put in study on your game per day? Do you think
Now much
on
less.
average?
Yeah,
Average
I would
30
say
minutes, an hour.
maybe 30 minutes to an hour right now.
Okay,
But I mean, it's like I don't really consider myself a studying and improving player right now. I'm like making a YouTube channel and doing commentary and writing books and all this stuff. And if
fair.
you want to count any of that as study, then great. But I don't really. And so I mean, I see the progress in my game reflects that too, right? Like it's stagnant at best. Um, so yeah, yeah,
Well, you're gonna still pick up things
right, yeah,
like, especially teaching. You're gonna
hmm
pick up things like there's you can't help it.
yeah,
When the one thing I notice about coaching players, teaching players, like I'm thinking about things we went over in class later that day
yeah,
on
yeah,
on the drive to work. I'm like, oh, I bet if we move that checker back, it's probably a pass.
yeah,
Or if we were ahead two more pips, we could probably cube there.
yeah,
I'm like these things you can't help it when you're like just engulfed into this world. You
yeah,
can't let it go when you have idle mind time. You have to be completely distracted. Otherwise, what happened earlier in the day is creeping in.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, should I have? Oh, maybe what if what did I hit that and it was a blunder?
sure,
Oh, I should have hit both. Oh, I should have hit both. And you don't like that comes from, you know, just playing, and you're like maybe you didn't get to analyze that match yet,
yeah,
and all of a sudden you're like, you can't help it. Your brain is just gonna you'll be still learning even though you're not going hardcore.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I
I
find
mean,
it.
I'm teaching 2 hours a day usually.
Hmm,
Um, coaching like Monday through Friday is the normal, or
nice.
sometimes the hours get shifted. It's between 8 and 12 classes a week that I'm like coaching,
Yeah,
and then some weeks it's less because of schedules and people's lives are busy. But
yeah,
I find the best students take a class every week,
yeah,
once a week at the same time, same bat channel,
yeah,
and they know that's their time, and they can. And then I also let them like a couple times during the week just send me like random positions that pop up while they're playing. They're like, "What do you think of this?"
yeah,
Or even if they're playing like live, they'll send me pictures,
yeah,
and they'll be like, "This happened last night. What do you think?"
yeah,
And that's it's. I think they like having that resource too,
yeah.
of
Oh, for
you
sure.
know, and because I'm usually, either I'm on call or if I'm not in session, I can look at it right there and just give them my opinion. And it's not always right,
Yeah,
right? It's not always right, but I can give them what I think,
yeah,
and then we can look at it later and dive deeper.
yeah,
Sometimes they're very clear,
yeah.
but like that one book that came out with all the really tough problems, like
Oh,
Vogel's book.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
Did you read that
the
book yet?
Super Genius Quiz. I've seen bits and pieces of it, and that's it. Yeah,
Oh my God, some of those
yeah,
problems.
right. Yeah, yeah. It's an interesting
Wow,
one where,
wow.
like, for that, like, you can there are exceptions in backgammon, and they're wild, And sometimes they teach you something, and sometimes they take you down the wrong path, right? I don't know. I find myself like in teaching. This is the thing that came up for me is that like I'm not always learning so much from it because what I'm trying to do with a lot of my students is simplify some concept to like some core principles that are going to get like the most mileage where they're at right now. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
gotcha. Yeah.
And if I'm doing that, that might be, it could be cementing some ideas I have, but it also might be like sort of simplifying my own thought process, and like it might actually be like regressing me a little bit, if I'm trying to like
Oh,
stick to these
interesting.
ideas in weird ways. Yeah. Um, so yeah, I mean, it can be interesting to like if I come up with this principle and say this is how you should play the opening, and then I try to apply that, and like maybe I intentionally find some places where it breaks down just to see like how well it works and how bad the mistakes are and stuff. I don't know. I find it depends on the student though. Those are like more the like toward the beginner end of the spectrum where like
Okay.
sometimes it's not really like making me better at backgammon. But then the more like ones closer to my play level and things like that, for sure I'm cementing some idea that I should be spending more time with. And now it's really fresh. I just went over a lesson on
Okay.
like single checker back cubes, and now I feel like I remember a lot more that I used to know about this. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, it was interesting. I was listening to your interview with Ryan Rebello,
Oh, cool. Okay.
and he was talking about like how the bot is different,
Yeah.
right, and all that, and one of the things that I thought about that didn't get really brought up, he talked about it playing pure,
Yeah.
but what one thing that's really amazing that a pattern about the bot is it loves structure.
Yes.
like
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
literally, like when it comes to like, if you don't know what play to make,
Yeah.
like if you default for structure, you have
Yeah.
a better chance of not making a big mistake.
Right. Just make
it's
a
it's
point
just
somewhere.
just
Yeah.
just even if it's in the it's the 9 point, it's the 11 point, like
Yeah.
that's what it likes to see points made, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And like another like pattern was like, even if you can hit two in the inner board,
Mm-hmm.
but you could have made a new point instead, it's
Mm.
better to make a new point.
Yeah. Yeah.
like
In general.
like it's that's like a good general rule, right?
Yeah.
um so it's these kinds of, it was watching that video, I was like, oh, XG, he's not talking about XG love structure, it's not just about purity,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
about point, it's a point making machine is
Right.
what it
Right.
really is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
um so like I talk about that a lot, or um recognizing patterns over the board, like
Yeah.
he was talking the checkers just move themselves.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's more about the checkers like talk to me. They're like, put
Yeah.
me here, put me here,
Yeah. Yeah. The old
or like,
McGrill adage, right?
yeah, it's kind of that way, but not exactly McGrilly, but
Yeah.
like, um, it's almost like you can, if when you play enough, you can almost feel like there's a gravitational pull to where that thing wants to go, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You just kind of stare at it, and it's almost like you can feel the pull. It's like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and I mean, I guess that's kind of an organic kind of in the moment kind of feel. I'm not counting shots. I'm looking at where that checker that's lost. It's kind of like, your kid's lost in the grocery store and you're
Yeah.
trying to find them, right?
Right. Right.
It has a place to go, you
Yeah.
know, and we will find it eventually. Um,
I like that.
so,
I hear in there that your approach is more like strategic then too, and not so
mhm.
tactical in counting shots and calculating. It's always interesting to see what side of things people are on. Like I guess if you generally thinking more strategically and where the checkers want to go, when do you delve into the numbers and calculating, or do you not do that at all? Are you all feel based?
um, well, I teach like the squares. Like if you have 3 ways to do this and you have two checkers on each point, you have
Mm.
like 9 ways to point on them. Or
Mm.
if you have four, it's 4 squared, it's 16 ways. If it's 5 ways, it's 5 squared, it's 25 ways.
Yeah.
So that you have some idea of how many times you're going to point on them,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
especially for like cube action,
Yeah.
right? Um, Counting shots.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of, you got to count shots a little bit. Like, how
Yeah.
many shots am I leaving here?
Yeah.
Or, oh, this leaves 2 shots. Oh,
Yeah.
this only leaves one.
Hmm.
This leaves 6. This leaves 11. Like, and then risk versus reward on, if we leave 11 shots but it works, we
Hmm.
crush them. But we could leave 6 shots, but that's less likely to work. So let's go for leaving more now, because if this works, they're dead.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Okay.
So
Yeah.
there are times that a little bit of math comes involved, but it's not. I'm never talking about, oh, I think you have 70% here and 12% gammons. No, I
Gotcha.
don't. I don't ever talk about that. Or
Yeah.
another one is, another cool rule. It's a very interesting pattern. At a normal score, if you're the doubler, right, and your gammon wins are higher than your opponent's wins, it's like generally a pass. And then or you can look at the other way. If you're the taker, right?
Yeah.
If we're going to look at that, we know it's a cube. I'm trying to decide if I should take it or not. If I win more games than I get gammoned, it's probably a take.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know the percentages of that. I kind of have to feel that.
Yeah.
And the more you play, people get that feel.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got to have some way of like categorizing those. I hear what you're saying.
But you can coach that. You can show positions where, like,
yeah.
you know, they're only 1 point better than you in your board.
Yeah.
Like you have your 4 and they have their 4 and their 3, and you just danced, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, how many men are in the zone? Okay, we know if there's only 8 in the zone, the gammons are way down from if there's 10.
Yeah.
So you can just, I mean, it's just patterns.
This is more how I'm like teaching it too. I'm like working on a lot of cube action stuff right now with a student as well. And I think like the Cube Action 1000 like set of books, whatever. I have right here too. If you haven't seen.
Oh, hey, wait.
Yeah. You got that up there too?
I got that up there too.
Nice.
Yeah.
On the shelf?
That same one, the middle one.
Yeah, I've got all 3, but like those are really nice. I feel like what you're talking about, building up that pattern recognition, like if you're going to approach the game that way, you have to see a lot of the game. And so what's really nice about these is that like there's no explanations about what's going on. It's just a ton of cube action positions, and you just look through them. And if you kind of start making some guesses at like roughly where your wins and your gammons are, like you can start to kind of categorically know in these like anchor game positions, while I'm usually in like the 70s and the gammons are really low. With an extra checker, maybe it's up around like 10%, right? And you can kind of get a feel for what like all these levers are, right? And so, yeah, maybe you focus on the gammons. That might be like the more important thing too when you talk about it that way. I like to focus on position types, more like the defensive side of it, like what's going on. Like that helps me categorize a lot, like anchor, split, single checker back, many back, all these things like categorically act quite a bit different. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. I think building up that pattern and like at no point am I looking for features and adding up like X checkers in the zone minus this thing, and I have a formula that gets me to 72%, you know?
I don't do that either. But I do find that like the simple pattern recognition is very adaptable for people that are trying to become expert players, open players.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, your board is 2 points better and you're shooting at a checker. Right?
Yeah.
So just in a big world way, think of this. You have 2 points better in your board. It doesn't matter what points they are.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're shooting directly at a checker.
Yeah.
It's like always a cube.
Yeah.
It's like always a cube, right?
Nice.
And then you can have 2 points better in your board.
Yeah.
And you have a checker on the roof and you're shooting it more.
Yeah.
It's either a pass or it's too good, like almost every time. It's like always make the 5 point. These kind of pattern rules make it very easy for newer players and even expert players to recognize these positions and not be gerbling them too long. They can just go, oh, this is here. I have the conditions. The conditions are met. Okay, this is what the action is. And if especially if you think, a lot of new players double when they're too good.
Yeah.
They don't double, and then they double, it's too good. Right?
Yeah.
Well, what this does is it shows them, it's like, whoa, wait, this is strong. Yeah. This actually alerts me in this position that it's too good. So sometimes it's wrong and it's just a double pass. And it's a small mistake to roll on based on certain conditions. But guess what? It eliminates their maybe 90% of the times that they're doubling too good. Because they recognize this.
Yeah.
So it's more about reducing blunders in a category.
Yeah.
Over and over again.
Yeah.
So that their game gets stronger and stronger. And then, sometimes, they show me cool stuff that or they show me a position that I have no idea.
Right.
Or I'm completely wrong.
Sometimes those things are like the most tempting and interesting to study, right? Is like the big exceptions. But what I hear in your approach too is like these categorical ideas. They're gonna work like so often that the game is simplified into like
Exactly.
less things you need to know. But
Oh,
you also
yes,
feel like you're familiar with the game in every position mostly, right? And some things will get like a
for
little
sure.
outside the box, but I have a frame of reference for my attacking position and my blitzing position and my priming position and all these things. And you're not just like, I don't know what this game is ever, right? Because I've got
Well,
some rule to use. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Like what's really fun is when you're at a tournament, and maybe this is why a lot of my students go to the tournaments I go to. And
Yeah.
maybe I should sell that. Oh, you want me to go to your tournament? What are you going to do for me? I'm going to bring 3 or 4 people,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. I mean, like maybe I should start selling that, but
Yeah.
like. But it's really there's nothing more fun at a tournament when your students are having success and they come up and they're like, I saw the triangle, or I saw this and I did this,
Yeah.
or it was I saw that I was behind in the match. I didn't have any points in their board, and I knew this rule from the list that I'm supposed to double here anyway. Like
Right. Yeah.
the excitement when they can recall these patterns and these
Yes.
little like I have my own they're like my own list of proverbs like Nietzsche
Yeah.
has, right?
I've
I
heard
have
of the
my own
list, Jonah. I've heard of the list.
yeah.
I was curious
So
about it.
so I have this massive list that started out with like 20 things to think about when
Yeah.
you play backgammon, right?
Mhm.
And I thought, well, maybe this will be a coffee table book someday or something like that, right? Well,
Yeah.
now it's over 80 items.
Yeah.
So it's not like I can just say, hey, just look at this list and real quick and you'll play great. Well, because some of it's in code,
Yeah.
like unless you know from class what that means,
Yeah.
you have no idea.
Gotcha.
Like
Gotcha.
some of the stuff is more self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Um, like where do you want your spares in backgammon?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You want them on the 6, 8, and 13.
I like that.
Those
Okay.
it's the
Yeah.
best. It's the best places to have your spares.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In general, for a new player, right? And don't strip your midpoint unless you have a good reason. You were talking about some of the matches they were leaving the midpoint, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Well, there's an interesting thing where like the midpoint loses value when you have an advanced anchor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Those
Yeah.
become active. That like you have it's like these guys are like asleep, right? The
Yeah.
midpoint is like asleep, right?
Yeah.
The last two on the midpoint are basically sleeping,
Yeah.
okay? And they do not become kissed by the prince to be active in the world until you have an advanced anchor. And if you kind of follow that kind of thinking,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
won't you won't strip it unless you have to, unless you're hitting something or making a new point. And then but once you get the advanced anchor, it's like, okay, the gloves are off. Those guys are good to fight however we need them to fight. They become part of the army.
I
And
like that. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just this kind of discussion
Yeah.
that is fun, and it resonates with people. It's not boring,
Yeah.
and it's just kind of my style to talk about the game that way.
Yeah, man. I
And
love it.
we're sometimes I talk about being blinded by the blot,
Yeah.
right? Say you see that you could make a point in your board, right? And but their board is like really good, and you could hit it, right? And
Yeah.
but you're tempted by this, right? And it
Sure.
could be I call that blot that tempts you to do something that you shouldn't, either the sexy lady or the hot guy,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
and they're distracting you from doing what you need to do, right? So, but this is just kind of all part of it. So it gives people another way of looking at it. Oh, there's temptation.
Yeah.
So it forms a memory
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
from this discussion
Yeah.
that when they see it and they're tempted, they're like, oh wait, that's the sexy lady, or that's the hot guy, or that's Temptation Island, or whatever it is,
Yeah.
to make them go, oh, I need to just make this point.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Don't get blinded by this blot. Like sometimes we get tempted to leave our anchor. That you were talking about that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's really interesting is there's great rules for that as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For when you leave your anchor. If you were going to tell somebody, let me ask you this question. If you were going to tell a student, when do you leave your anchor? What would you tell them?
My beginner students, I say never. I said, just don't do it.
All right. What would you tell your
And then,
Advanced students.
yeah, as we start to work on it, my first thing is like really early when you're way ahead before it's risky,
Okay.
and really late before everything else goes to shit, right? Like
Okay.
it's like the last thing you do. Like you're not
Okay.
going to give up your board or something like this, ideally, right? You're going to wait till then.
Okay.
And when you're ahead, you're going to leave your anchor when you're winning the race, right? You're not going to if you're down. So those are big things.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, that's a good, like, that's a good starting point.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
For them to kind of conceptualize.
Yeah.
So when you give them that, and you like telling them in the beginning, almost never
Yeah.
is kind of good in a way.
Right. Yeah.
And then you say, hey, we're looking for these conditions. Just like, remember I said 2 points better, shooting it more, these kinds of concepts. If they have the triangle, it's a time to hit loose, all these kinds of things, right? To look for these patterns.
Yeah.
Well, for leaving your anchor, right, there's actually some kind of cool things that you can tell them that's very specific, like you need containment.
Yeah.
If you have containment, you can leave your anchor, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Another one is if your opponent's on the roof.
Yeah.
If you look at patterns over all the games you ever played, and when they're on the roof, XG loves leaving that anchor when they're on the roof.
Yeah.
It's just like they're distracted. Now's the time to run. It's almost like a bait and switch situation.
Yeah.
Like they're on the roof, let's get out of here. Like, the back door's open, let's go.
Yeah.
So that's another like good spot to leave your anchor. The other one is when you roll a joker, or you're out of time.
Yeah, out of time is that one. Yep.
So that's another one that's like, so there's like 4 key spots, and then the 5th one is that when you're way ahead in the race, you got to leave before they build their board.
Yeah.
Right. Like your board's strong and their board is shit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the probably the number one missed leave your anchor is coming off the 3 point, the 22 point.
I think
with
so
the
too.
9.
Which like
With the
Michi
9.
finds all of these now that he like spent time with his book and his lecture, and there's still ones where it's just like super obvious to him that I'm not like during commentary where I wasn't even thinking about it, So that one I know can be easier if I remember
9.
that story.
Just remember this.
Yeah.
9. Just remember 9. I'm telling you, you'll never forget this from this one conversation.
Okay.
When you're on the 22 point and you roll a 9, you say have a 22 point anchor and you roll a 9.
Yeah.
It's crazy how often you're just supposed to run.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like the way the Germans say 9. Like I'm telling you, you'll never forget that. You might even say it like while you're playing in your head. You're 9. There it is. There's the 9.
Yeah.
Because it's so right so often.
Yeah.
To run off that crappy anchor. Right. And I actually, he calls it the butterfly anchor, right?
Yeah.
I like more calling it like the bronze anchor. Like,
Sure.
You have the golden point, you have the silver point is the 20, the 21.
Yeah.
And then the 22 is the bronze, and nobody wants the bronze, right?
Right.
And if you're back on the 23 point, you're not even getting a medal.
Yeah.
That's more like, it's just a bad spot.
It's at least the podium. Yeah. But you want to, I like the butterfly because it reminds me that like we like to make it, but then we also like to leave it. I think that's like the really potent metaphor there for me. Yeah.
Well, for me, it seems like it's more like the caterpillar anchor.
Okay.
Because think about this, right?
Yeah.
You always want it to be something more beautiful.
Yeah.
And I when I look at a butterfly, I think a butterfly is a beautiful thing, right?
I like that. Okay.
And I don't look at that 22 and go, oh, look how beautiful that butterfly is.
Right.
No, I look at it and I'm like, this is a moth. It's developing. It's a caterpillar that can be beautiful if it makes it into the 5 point, the golden point. It wants an upgrade. It feels like to me like the bad hotel anchor.
Okay.
Like
it's like the cocoon anchor. That's
yeah, exactly. That's how it feels to me.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
It needs to break free and become a ballerfly, and as soon as it can do that.
Exactly. It wants to pop that cocoon and run to the midpoint. It wants to make the golden point. It wants to make the bar point. It wants to do something more beautiful.
I love
so.
This, yeah.
I mean, think about this. Have you ever made the 22 and said, "Oh, this is beautiful"?
Yeah, all the time. But I like to stay on the 22. I like to. We played a match like a year ago in San Antonio where like I was in a Dead to Rights prime 22-point anger game. And I was like, I got the 22. Of course I can take this. I love the
Beautiful.
22. Yeah.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
To me, it's quite beautiful. It's
It's just not that
not the
beautiful
most. Understandable. Understandable. I love that though. I can like imagine how your students could be playing over the board and just like have your voice in their head while they're playing. That's my favorite thing to hear from students too. Is like I can just hear you talking about I need to split here. I need to split here.
Right.
Right. But that voice showing up, and I think having those like ideas, like turning it into something visual, something that they can like, putting some sort of extra memory around that. That's brilliant, man. It's not my strength at all, but I love getting that from people like you and Michi. I think are both like amazing at that, at like finding memorable ways to describe concepts. Yeah.
Well, and that's how I teach counting too.
Yeah. Okay.
Counting over the board.
Yeah.
Like I have reference position like Chevy 52, the Broken Arrow, Route 66, Highway 105, 2x4, 1x2.
Yeah.
All these the back the truck up position. I mean, I have all these kind of counting references that people can basically look at the board and get the count down to where they only have to count 1 to 3 checkers based on patterns.
Wow. Okay. Very nice.
And the more you practice, the better you get. And like, it's saved me many times. And I was always trying to figure out a better way because, I add cluster counting to the counting method as well. But I also have these patterns that happen, like the loaded gun, and there's just, a bunch of these different kind of patterns. Well, what it does is not when you show these patterns for counting, even people come up with their own because their mind starts looking for these things.
Yeah.
Right. And you're like cluster counting plus positional memory.
Yeah.
So like the three in the corners, the one that looks like a broken arrow when you have 2 on the 13 and 1 on the 14.
Okay.
It looks like the tip of an arrow if you
sure.
Right. So I call that the broken arrow.
Okay. Yeah.
And people know automatically that that's 40.
Yeah.
So they're not going, 26 and 14 and automatically, or having 2 on your 24 and 4 on the mid is 2x4.
Yeah.
That's 100.
Yeah. Okay. 2 on your 20 and 1 on your mid.
2 on your 24.
Yeah.
And 4 on the mid.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. For sure.
That's a 2x4.
Got it.
That's 100. And then if you cut it in half, you have a 1x2. That's a 50.
Right. Nice.
So,
okay. That's a useful one. Yeah.
These happen all the time.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So the same with some of the other positions, like when you have checkers from your 4-point to your 8-point, right? Mm-hmm. Well, we can look at these patterns that happen all. I don't teach them like obscure ones.
Yeah.
I teach them like stuff you're going to see all day.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
And I'm telling you, the memory tricks are so powerful.
Yeah.
Because they're like, this is the Chevy 52, or I got the Route 66, and I got 40 here, blah, blah, blah. There's 100, and now I only have to count these 2 checkers.
This is like the case in many like games with chance or variance, I think. Is that like to really experience what's going on in it, you need a ton of repetitions, a ton of experience, but you also need a way to start to like organize the lessons you're getting from that and keep them together. And so it sounds like all these like mnemonics are like really strong ways to like make the experience count, Yeah, and there's just no way. I'm sure you found the same thing in poker, where like a lot of things can happen based on a decision, and so it's tough to get like good feedback about whether your bet was right or wrong, or your fold or whatever it might be, So you need some way to just like do a lot of it. Yeah.
There's a lot of guesswork that I like to eliminate.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, I kind of look at the list as like a guide. Like you're going on this hike, right?
Yeah.
And you never know what's going to come up along the hike, right?
Yeah.
And so while you're on this journey, you kind of have this map of ideas.
Yeah.
If you encounter a bear, you do this. If you encounter a cougar, you do this. If you if you need to build something here along the way, it's like a mental roadmap to handle different obstacles along the way.
Yeah.
And if you learn these things, you learn these concepts, and some of them don't. Some things come up in class that don't make the list. Like it's only going to be specific to Nick.
Yeah, yeah.
Like Nick's the only one that needs this one, right?
Right.
Like Bob only needs this one.
Right.
Armando
The
only
22
needs
is
this
not
one.
beautiful. You need this.
Like some people need a different approach.
Yeah, yeah.
Or a more or a different analogy even, right?
Sure.
And it's like when the checkers are back on the 24 point, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of a funny one that actually did make the list because it was so funny and good. Is like I consider that concrete. If you don't move your back checkers, you have concrete shoes. Is what I call it.
Yeah, yeah.
You got to get out of the concrete.
Yeah.
You got to get those back guys moving, and you find what works. If you just tell people you got to move your backmen. Yeah, it doesn't work the same as like your feet are in concrete. You need to get out of it.
Right. Yeah.
Don't get stuck there.
Yeah.
And I don't care if you say you got your feet in honey or your feet in quicksand or whatever way it works with each student or all.
Yeah.
That you can make them be conscious that has to happen.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
You're doing a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love that part of it, of finding new ways, new ideas, even with the same positions, a different way of looking at it, a different way of tricking our mind to remember it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or one, I might have one for one student and then modify it a little so it's more politically correct.
Yeah. Right. I was going to say, it sounds like a good tentative title for your book is What to Do When You Encounter a Coder. I think that's good. You can use that, right? When are you going to write that book?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I have the material to put it together.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a time thing. I mean, I work full time, I have a family, there's a lot, teaching,
Maybe there's some sort of ghostwriter opportunity here. We'll have to talk. I've got
I don't know.
Writing books now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's something. I do like the idea of putting something together because I feel like people would really like enjoy hearing the silliness of the lessons too.
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
Some of the comedy aspect that comes into backgammon, and people think backgammon. What's funny about that? Oh, there's a lot of funny things that can happen.
Right.
And it's how you talk about them that makes it interesting. I mean, it's.
I definitely appreciate your demeanor out at tournaments that way. I think we both have a good sense of humor about the game, not taking things too seriously, right? There's definitely plenty of room for frustration when things don't go your way, but you don't seem like the kind of person that gets too deep into that,
I mean, probably since I started playing in the open division in 2000, what is it? I don't know. I came back pretty seriously in 2014.
Okay. I wanted to get to this. Cool. Got it.
There is probably only one or two times that I didn't handle myself poorly. I just didn't handle myself my normal way. I wasn't I was a little bit salty. Well,
that's okay. I think.
Yeah, but normally I take the beat and I'm just like, good luck in the rest. You beat me, I hope you win the tournament, right?
Yeah.
Normally I take a beat pretty good because I've been around.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't, and I know there's luck involved. I know you got to be able to. If you let it bother you too much, you make yourself sick. And I like to just kind of be I'm lucky to play this game. I'm lucky to be able to go to these tournaments, be appreciative for the experience, and results will come as they do. And I've had my good luck. I've had my bad luck. So I don't feel like I can really complain.
Yeah.
But I mean, really for me, I'm pretty easygoing. It's only when I play someone that's kind of an asshole or tries to be really unnecessarily serious. We can be serious. Okay. Right. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
But like to be like, very nitpicky about things.
Yeah. Like
When
focus on
they
the
get,
rules and things like that. I always feel that way
well,
about it. I mean, maybe, but I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah.
but usually they're finicky about stuff that's outside the rules. I don't. The rules are fine. I don't mind like following the rules 100%. Like
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. You can
Yeah.
give me the most German backgammon player on the planet that's following, and I'm half German, so I can say that. But like
No
some
one's
of the
specific that you're talking about right now.
well, there's a few
Just
German players that are very like specific about how they want everything, and
Yeah.
I'm sure that they probably, everything they do in life is so like boom, 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 and like they don't want this off a little bit, and this has got to be right here, and like there's a little of that I'm just like, dude, you need to calm down. I want to play that Taylor Swift song for him, and be like, listen to this song and come back, and then we'll play. Like you're not fun to play. I just want to punch you in the face. It's just not. It's and I'm just not like that. And then when I encounter that type of player, I'm just like, you need to relax. Like we can be serious, but you shouldn't be like, oh, the clock's 1 millimeter off the center, and we can't have the cube here, and I can't see the scorecard perfectly. Like there's some weird stuff that happens sometimes with these players that they're a little bit overzealous, and I just want to be like, listen, man, you're making me nuts.
I've always like interpreted this as like an age thing or something, that people get used to their way, and like that gets more and more likely the longer you've been around these backgammon tournaments or something. I don't know how old you are, but you count as like younger on the tournament scene like me, right? So
yeah, I mean, I'm older than people think. I'm almost 52.
Okay, yeah.
I'll be 52 in like 6 weeks.
That's young. You can't even play in the Vegas. Seniors divisions, right?
In Vegas, I turned 52.
Wow,
at the Vegas tournament.
Awesome, awesome.
The Sunday of the Vegas tournament, I turned 52.
And you'll be there, I presume.
I'll be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've been around the scene over 20 years. It's not like I'm a kid.
Yeah.
I'm not,
There's still like this adaptability to like younger people and kids to begin with, right? Like we don't, like there's less, I don't know where exactly the clock is, and all these specifics of it just don't seem as important yet. Where if you've been playing that way for 30 years, then it could be distracting or something. I don't know, So yeah. I can kind of buy it. I don't know. That's what I
don't know. I mean, I try to accommodate, but then when they get a little freaky, then I can be like, all right.
Right. But yeah, if you're going to be like ornery about it, then I also like, that's weird energy to have to deal with, and it's not fun to play with either,
No, and then I just want to crush them. I it's maybe it's a good strategy, because then I don't even want them to score 1 point.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe it gets me to where I'm like willing to take a cube even up 5-0, because I just want to skunk them. I want the egg to look this big on the scoreboard, right?
Yeah. I don't really like believe in playing that poker over the board, but like a habit of mine that I've noticed is if I get the idea that I'm like better than someone early in the match, I will start to play pretty poorly. Instead of just like overplay everything for some reason. Like I'm not worried about being punished when I should just play my game. But for some reason it just gets me into this different headspace. I'm not used to there being like blots everywhere and all this looseness, and I just overplay it in response to,
That's a great point. And Ryan talked about that in his interview a little bit as well. Yeah. About, and I call it being cute.
Yeah.
So like my students call me out on that.
Yeah.
Like, are you being cute here? Like, you're making the cute play, because they're like, this is not the play. Like, and I'm trying to like make something spectacular happen.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
I wonder all the time though if it would be like a reasonable strategy against me to just make like a play or two like that are close but look like fishy. Like no one would do this, right? Just some like weird kind of things. And like that might be enough to bring a lot of opponents into a headspace of like, I need to play different because I'm better than this player, right? Like it just like happens a lot of times. I don't know. Like a lot of people specifically think that way. I don't think I'm thinking that way exactly, but it like pushes me, like it changes my game for sure. Like I react to it, So I don't know. I think that's very interesting to me.
Keep it simple.
Yeah.
As much as possible. I'm telling you, for all the years that I've played, my biggest mistakes are when I'm too creative.
Yeah. But I know you're a creative player too. Like you still, we talked a little bit after a match, like nothing's going your way. You're trying to play like the bot. And when that's not working for you, you're willing to deviate and try to mix things up somehow. Yeah.
Well, if I'm getting crushed, like you will see there will be blood in the streets. like
yeah.
I will do some crazy things just to mix it up because I kind of it almost it energizes me.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
Like I remember I was playing. I can't remember if it was Vegas or LA, but I was getting beat 6-0 to 11 or 15 or whatever. I was just getting crushed. I can't remember which tournament this was, but I was double slotting, like the opening.
Okay.
When there's no reason to do this, like
sure, yeah,
like 3-2 double slot,
right?
The 4 and the 5 point.
Yeah, that's a candidate.
Like
Jim Pasco's on your side.
You know? Well, but it was purely a reaction to like I want to look at something different.
Yeah.
Right. I want to see what my opponent does, looking at something different.
Yeah.
Because when you're playing somebody and it's you're just giving them softballs.
Yeah.
Boop, boop, and they're just knocking them out of the park, right?
Yeah.
Everything you do, you're just putting it on the tee, and they're just like, boop, and you're just getting crushed. You're like, okay, let's do something fun. Let's make this fun. And it's amazing how often if you just take 1 or 2 games off your normal, and force a back game or smack the shit out of them, and then they dance with double sixes after you did some crazy play, and they had the better board, and then all of a sudden you gammon them on their own cube. There's like magical energy that goes out in the world. It's like you just put like pixie dust over the board or voodoo or something, and like you turn this 6-0 match around. Now it's 6-4.
I've experienced this from the other side too, like players that are just hyper aggressive and just like a different older style, and like when it works, it's really frustrating. Like you know that they shouldn't be getting away with this, and then they do for one roll, and everything's different. You know,
they get away with murder.
Yeah,
and you're just like looking at the crime scene on the bar, and you can't do anything about it.
Right, yeah.
And then all of a sudden your 6-0 lead, it's 6-4, and you're just like, what the heck happened? And they're like, and like I had a guy he wanted to take a break. He's killing me, right? 6-0. I gammon him, and he's like, I need a break.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, all right, no problem. That's fair. But I knew he was rattled.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That's a good spot to have someone. Yeah.
He didn't score another point.
It goes that way. Do you teach your students this at all, though? Do you ever tell them like you need to mix it up, or do you tell them to keep it simple?
For the most part, I tell them to keep it simple, but they know me.
Yeah.
And they
know they'll be able to explain this. If it comes up, you're like, I was losing and I tried to mix it up, and you're like, yeah, okay.
They know I'm never gonna say, don't do that.
Yeah.
Like I XG for me is a tool.
Sure.
All right, and it's a fabulous tool.
Yeah.
But for me, it's not like if you have the right idea and it's a greenie.
Yeah.
And you kick their ass because you did this, and in the one game rollout, you gammon them because you did this. But if you would have done the right play, it would have been a small greenie, and you would have only won 2 points. Blah blah blah.
Right.
You made or you knew you were making this play. You weren't sure which one was right, but you had the right idea, and you knew how to play each subsequent roll after that very well because you knew the game plan.
Yeah.
I'm a real proponent of staying with your plan.
Yes. Yeah. I like that.
And even if you're not playing XG's plan perfect, you're playing your plan.
Sure.
You're gonna win more than if you're trying to guess what XG would have done.
That's a hard thing to teach too, like how to effectively deviate from or ignore XG's input when you have the right plan, when they're close enough, when it's like an exceptional kind of position. I don't know. Like how does that go? And is it always just you giving feedback about this mistake I think is okay and it led to these things, or?
Absolutely. Yeah. That does happen. Even blunders.
Yeah.
Like even like a no double cube or a double, a missed double.
Right.
Or a too early double, whatever. If they had a plan.
Yeah.
And they executed.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that way too, you know?
Let's not beat
Yeah.
ourselves up over this.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the one of the proverbs I have. It's like it's better to double than lost than never doubled at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that too. I like
Right?
embracing the volatility. I think it's easier from a poker background to understand that you got to take some risks, you know?
And I
Um,
would much rather you give a .06 mistake cube
yeah.
than miss five doubles.
Right, right. Yeah.
Right?
Especially if your opponent might have a hard time with it or not know what to do or not know, slow
So,
down on the recube. All these things can go their
well,
way, right? Yeah.
speaking of poker,
Yeah.
think about this. Sometimes when you're playing somebody and they're not super experienced, right? And sometimes they can even be super experienced. And you're in a very volatile position. If you don't cube immediately
Hmm.
and you just think about it, right? It might be a no double,
Yeah.
right? But I've seen people with enough volatility in the position pass cubes that were no doubles. I mean,
Right.
even great players do this, make
Sander
mistakes
in the
sometimes.
UBC finals. Yeah. Yeah. I had one like that.
Or if they dance, and if they dance, you're giving them the cube, and you don't care whether it's a cube or not. You just know if they dance, they're getting it,
Yeah.
and you cube right away. There's some people that'll just like, oh, pass, pass,
Right,
pass. I
right.
mean, it's there is some poker elements
Sure. Sure.
that are out there. I don't use them very often,
Yeah.
but if my student wants to wait a roll because they know they're going to take anyway,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay,
It's a rarity for me to use the pokery kind of things too, but I did have one in like a club tournament too where it like barely matters. I don't know how to do this stuff either. But like I'm down in a match in a prime versus prime position that I am definitely losing and just like crushed in this game. And I really like but there is some chance that if I send this cube, my opponent will misevaluate it and think that I'm winning. And it was just one of these spots that I was like I don't know. I'm dead meat either way. Let me just hand this over and see what happens. And I got a pass out of it, And I was like, well, that was like one spot where it felt like it really made sense because it was a confusing position, with like a relative beginner player or something or like an intermediate kind of level. But I mean, those situations, like it's so rare that they come up where you really have like a good reason and enough confidence that it's like worth trying.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think the number one thing for like advanced players and even expert players is to follow their gut.
Yeah.
Like if your spidey senses are tingling,
Yeah.
right? And you're like, God, this feels like I should double. God, but I'm not sure. It doesn't feel like it is. Just double.
Yeah.
Because if you're pausing to think about it,
Hmm.
especially at like normal scores or trailing scores, if you're pausing, it's when you have a lead, when you get that pause and you're like, oh, I don't know if this is double. Maybe
Yeah.
when you have a big lead, you should put the brakes on and have a little bit more.
Sure.
But if the match score is normalized at 0-0-0-1-1-0, or you're trailing and you get the spidey sense,
Yeah.
go with it, baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're wrong, you're going to figure out when you're wrong. But then when you're right, you'll start getting better and better at when that gut instinct is driving you to know that you should be cubing.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and that's part of coaching this kind of mindset, right?
Yeah.
You play over the board enough, you get this organic kind of feel for the cube,
Yeah.
and then analyzing your matches and when you're screwing up. I'm telling you, if people would just follow their gut more often when they have experience. Now, new players think, oh, I got a cube right now. He danced on my 1 point board, and I have no points made in that board. And they're like, cube. They just automatically toss it kind of willy nilly.
Yeah.
A lot of beginning players do that.
Yeah.
But once they get the experience and they have a few thousand games under their belt,
Hmm.
the instincts are very good with us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you need to follow that and then make adjustments after you use your instinct.
I like that. Yeah. I think that's the best way to build it. It's the hard thing that I've noticed with my game is that like when I spend time not playing, then rebuilding those instincts and the adjustments to them takes a lot. Where if I can really fundamentally learn something, I can leave the game for 6 months, come back and still know it. So sometimes like it requires a lot of like maintenance to do that. That's the only trouble I've had with it.
Well,
But it
when you
works
take
really
breaks,
well.
you're 100% right.
Yeah.
You really need to play every day.
Yeah. Yep.
And a lot of people don't realize that it's that necessary,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but it's kind of like mental maintenance
Yeah.
is the way I look at it. It's mental maintenance. It's just kind of like, you know, the saying behind me says choose your hard,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Tell me about that.
And you can choose to be like ridiculously overweight, and that's hard.
Yeah.
Or you can choose to work out almost every day, and that's hard.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can eat garbage, and you can and you know, feel like crap, or you can eat shit that doesn't taste that good, and that's
Yeah.
hard too.
Yeah.
Right. But you make the choice on
Sure.
this. Right.
I
Either
do
one
that.
is hard. Either one is hard. Being overweight is hard. You know, I was, you know, much heavier at one point, and lost some weight, and I'm kind of still trying to lose more, but I work out like every day.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Okay. I was
Because I'm
curious about this
choosing
about you.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
You
And
look like an athletic dude out there. You know, I've
yeah.
always been curious what your background was, if you like played sports in like school or
Yeah.
anything like that, or college, or yeah.
I I I I never played in college, but like I was a good student athlete.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
I played basketball, I played football,
Yeah.
I played the bass guitar in the jazz band, I played the violin. I mean, I
Nice.
did a lot of crazy shit like
Yeah.
when I was younger, and I just did a lot of things. I was in the school play, like I did, you know, a lot of stuff. But I was a power lifter is what for a lot of time when I was in high school, I was powerlifting.
Nice. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So I've kind of mixed that with like I get in a kick, I lift weights for 6 months, 9 months, then I do nothing but cardio for 3 months, and I go back to the weights again. But I'm just trying to do something every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not going crazy. I'm not trying to like be super, you know, fit. I just want to be healthy.
Yeah.
As I smoke my cigars, I want to be healthy, right?
But
but
fine.
like,
Yeah. You got to
it's
have
just,
some room for enjoyment too. You know, that's how.
well, yeah. Like I don't drink.
Yeah.
I try to watch what I eat. I try to,
Okay.
you know, that sort of thing. I drink once in a while. It's very rare.
Yeah.
But you know, I kind of just love cigars, and it kind of became a vice for me.
Yeah.
And coffee. I'm
Yeah.
like you know me and coffee. Like I drag my stuff around just like you do,
Hell
so
yeah.
I can make coffee in the room. You know, so I don't have to buy every time. You know.
Yeah.
But the choose your hard thing is kind of the same thing that I apply to backgammon. The game is hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can choose to study a little bit every day,
Mm-hmm.
or you can just keep it really hard for you. But if you choose to study hard
Yeah.
a little bit every day,
Yeah.
the game becomes easier for you.
Yeah.
Just like working out, just like eating right, just like whatever. Like it's the same kind of it all kind of works together. So in my work life, in my home life, everything, I just try to like maintain everyday relationships, maintain work relationships, maintain study of the things at work, maintain backgammon's important to me, like those other things.
Yeah.
I got to do it every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I don't feel like it,
Yeah.
but I still force myself to do something every day. And, you know, one of the things I tell people about learning the game is don't read a whole book in one weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I did for sure.
You're never going to get it. Okay. You got to take a backgammon book and look at it like an elephant.
Yeah.
And you're going to eat it just one little piece at a time. And so literally I'll tell people to read like 10 or 15 minutes a day, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. As long as they keep, there's like a middle ground, right? You don't want to read 10 or 15 minutes, set it down for a week, and then come back to it either, right?
No,
I like that. Yeah. Yeah.
It's every day, Nick.
Yeah. I like that a lot. Yeah. Sticking with
every
it.
day.
Yeah. Keeping
like,
it fresh. Yeah.
I mean, like I have a backgammon book in my locker at work.
Mm-hmm.
It's always there.
Yeah.
And then I'll rotate a new book. Like I have the Cube 1000.
Yeah.
Books 1 and 3 are in my locker at work, and I have 2 at home right now.
Yeah.
Book 2.
Mm-hmm.
But like in my office in the house, I want to have a backgammon book nearby so that I can just read 10 pages, read 5 pages, read 10 minutes, right?
Hell yeah. Yeah.
or cover my list.
Yeah.
I'll go over my own list and read my own list for 10 minutes, right?
I like that.
Do something
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah. That's
Practice.
which thing has always gotten hard for me too. I want to do that something in like 20 different categories every day is like the thing that I run into. But like a big one for me is I know that pattern recognition is huge for cube action. And so that cube action 1000, like if I'm trying to play my best, just going through 10 to 20 positions every day. That was like a goal that I set for myself for a long time. And just keep like every day getting, think really deeply about them, try to understand, like make some intelligent guesses about wins and gammons and everything about this and what are all the features and fully digest this, Like not just flip through and look 10, like this deliberate study is very important too, right? That I'm like bringing the
Absolutely.
right energy to it. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and like the Cube 1000 books, what I did is I highlighted in the book only the match play ones.
Ah, nice. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't cover the money games.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't need to know what it is at money.
Interesting.
I
Okay.
want to use the Cube book, the 1000, for all the match play stuff. So I'm always considering the score.
Ah, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And so, like if you see my Cube 1000, you see blue highlights on every page that's not money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I review.
I gotcha.
Is and not that
Yeah.
doing the money ones is wrong. You can look at it 0-0 that way.
Yeah.
But for me, I didn't care about the difference.
Yeah.
I just cared about challenging myself to see if I could get them right, and
Yeah.
then go back through the books and see how many did I get right in a row before I missed one again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
That's good. I love the quizzes on heroes for that too. Yeah. Or Backgammon Studio. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Backgammon Studio.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's brilliant stuff, man.
So
Well, I love your like teaching strategy and everything. It's very clear to me why you have like consistent students and all that kind of stuff, and why you've been like a common name in the U.S. that way. But I keep wanting to get back to like you told me you came back to backgammon. I'm curious how you got started with poker and backgammon and everything too.
well, I was like 9 years old and I learned backgammon from my aunt in like 1980.
Okay, it's a good
I
time
was
to learn it.
she had a bar in Breckenridge, Colorado, and they played backgammon all the time in the 70s there.
Yeah,
And when they left Breckenridge and sold the bar and she moved to Denver, like I was one of the only people in the family that was willing to learn the game.
yeah, yeah.
So
Okay.
and she was terrible. I mean, let's just be honest, she was terrible. Like
Sure. Okay.
like so, but it was fun. We had a good time. And
Yeah.
she showed me the rules and how to play, and then I played with some of my friends in high school that were also had family from the 70s
Yeah.
that was playing backgammon. So there was a bunch of us that were born in the 70s
Uh-huh.
that everybody had a backgammon board at their house, at least
Yeah.
a cheap one.
Yeah.
So, and we might have had to dig it out of the attic or something in some cases, but like most people in my age group knew how to play or knew what backgammon was.
Nice. Okay. Okay.
So we would play in high school. We would play, like sometimes we'd play like checkers, and then we played chess, and then we played backgammon. We'd play all the games, and then we'd play poker.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then but we didn't have any strategy.
That's so
No one had
interesting.
any books.
In the
Like, we're just
90s,
goofing
like
around.
in the 90s in Wisconsin, no one knew how to play backgammon. As far as like when I was in school.
See, there you
Yeah,
go. Just
yeah,
10 years
already
later,
different. Yeah.
it's already disappeared, right?
Right. Yeah.
Well, I went into the Navy,
Mhm.
and when I went into the Navy, I got stationed in Hawaii. There was my roommate actually had a backgammon board,
Nice. Okay.
and I was like, "Whoa, what are the odds of this?" Like,
Yeah.
and so I used to when we were done with work for the day or we got out work early, we would usually play a couple games a day.
Awesome.
And he was actually the one that said, "Hey, we could actually like get a book on this and like play better."
Yeah.
And like that's kind of when we started like looking at backgammon books a little. This is like 1991,
Oh, cool. Okay. Okay.
91 time frame. I started
Yeah.
like I think I bought my first backgammon book back then or something. And then
That's interesting. I at some point in my life needed, like, it didn't occur to me that you could study games that way by like reading a book. But I had a friend that like went through that and got a lot better than me, and I kind of learned about it that way. I'm not sure if you're like the same. If you ever like Did you just never think about studying the game before someone was like, you can read books on this, or was that an idea you had?
I didn't know there was a book out there.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I had no idea.
Yeah.
But he was a book guy. This guy was like 10 years older than me, and we're in the same work department. He knew he liked backgammon. He's like, we could actually go to the library and like learn to play better.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, they have books on this shit. I was like, I couldn't believe it, right?
Yeah.
And so that kind of got me started, and then he got transferred.
Okay.
And there wasn't really anybody else to play.
Yeah.
And so I kind of got out of it. There wasn't really anybody to play. He was kind of my backgammon buddy.
Yeah.
And then he left, and then I didn't get back into it till I got home from the Navy back in Denver. I played on Yahoo Games.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
They had like this ladder system.
Yeah. I played all the card games on there. I never played backgammon on there though. I was like Hearts and Sheep's Head and all this stuff. Like I love those games. Yeah.
I used to play all that on Yahoo Games.
Yeah.
And then, but I would play in Yahoo Games. I play in their ladders where you could, if you beat someone, you went up higher up the ladder, and lost, you went down the ladder and all that kind of thing.
Hell yeah.
And so that was cool. And then I started reading books, and then in like 2002, I found out they had a backgammon tournament, local monthly or annual tournament at this bar.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, shit, I'm going to go.
Oh,
and then it was like, I don't know if it was September or October. I can't remember, but like, I didn't have much money, you know, so playing this tournament was like a big deal to me in like 2002. And I was like,
yeah.
And then at the tournament, they're like, well, there's much bigger tournaments than this.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, no way. And then I learned about Chicago Point and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. And then, and Vegas was coming up in November.
Yeah.
It was I can't remember if it was Vegas in November. It was a Vegas tournament though, but like, so it was either the April one or the November. I think it was November. But
okay, yeah.
At this tournament, the prize money was, considerable to me. I think you could win like over $1,000 or something, right?
Yeah.
For this tournament, and I said, if I win this tournament, can you imagine saying this? Right, your first tournament, you're like, if I win this tournament, I'm going to Vegas.
Yeah.
Well, I won the tournament.
Beautiful. Okay.
And so I won this like local tournament here, and then so I went to Vegas.
Yeah.
And then I got in the intermediate tournament, and I made the final in the consolation.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Yeah.
So that's kind of what like lit the fire.
Yeah.
To be like, okay, there's more to this. And then I kind of putzed around playing backgammon and poker.
Okay.
In 2005, I played in the main event, the World Series. For the first time, I played in the 10K No Limit Hold'em.
Okay.
And I cashed the first time I played in it.
Nice.
I took like 340th out of those like 6,000 people or whatever.
Yeah.
And and then I had a couple other like in Omaha, 4-card high-low game.
Yeah.
I took 20th in the 2,500 or 21st, and I took 40th in the same year in the 1,500.
Okay.
And so I've had I probably played in 10 events. I've cashed in like half of them.
Oh wow, that's awesome. That's a pretty good poker run. Yeah.
But I was mainly playing poker online on Full Tilt and Poker Stars and all that, and like the money was so much better in poker that it was hard. I was getting distracted.
Yeah. Okay. Distracted from backgammon.
Yeah. So I was spending a lot of time playing poker because the money was there.
Yeah.
And I knew that if I was going to move up, the stakes, it was going to be bigger buy-ins, better players.
Yeah.
And I knew I wanted to be able to compete with the best before I stepped up.
Yeah, of course. So when did you like really? You started playing backgammon more competitively. I got an idea of that arc. How did like the competition element in poker come about? Were you playing casinos before the moneymaker boom and stuff like that? Or
I was playing.
Okay.
I was playing like in the mid '90s.
Okay.
I was already playing poker in Vegas.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
And here in Colorado, when it got legal here, I was playing here.
Cool. I was just talking to Jeff Hall recently about like how the game was pot limit hold'em before like the big moneymaker boom and everything like that. Like
It was limit. It was limit hold'em.
You were
for
playing
me.
limit. Okay.
There was no pot limit. It was
Yeah.
all limit hold'em. I mean, there was no limit was not a thing.
Right. Yeah.
It was literally in Vegas when you would go. It was all limit.
Yep. Yeah. It's crazy.
Like, yeah. I mean, it didn't matter what game you played. You could play stud. You could play hold'em. You could play Omaha. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
And there was no pot limit Omaha back then either.
Right. Yeah.
It was hold'em or Omaha high low or stud.
Yeah.
Or maybe once in a while you'd see a stud high low, but that was usually at like, the Palace Station or one of the station casinos would have something like that.
You just started off kind of like agnostic to which game you played too. Did you have a favorite when you started off?
I loved all the games.
Yeah. Okay.
I played all the games.
Yeah.
Like the horse tournaments. It didn't matter. Like, I didn't care. I just wanted to be at the table.
Yeah.
And I wanted to compete.
Yeah, it's such a different arc for me, like where everything, I started right during the moneymaker boom, and so everything was no limit hold'em, and everyone with like that bought a set of chips somewhere from their store was setting up in the bar, and you were playing 1-2 no limit hold'em cash games anywhere you wanted, And so I never really learned most of the other games. I still like am fascinated by Omaha, but like all my reps are in no limit hold'em. And I think
interesting.
Yeah.
Where I'm a high-low Omaha specialist.
Okay. Yeah.
Like that is like my game. Like like when it comes to no limit hold, even though I cashed in the main event and have won a bunch of money playing no limit hold'em, I would not call that. I would say I'm okay. There's let's say we'll base it on PR, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to high-low Omaha, I'm probably a 2.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I'm like 2.5 range.
Yeah.
When it comes to no limit hold'em, I'm more like a 5.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm a 5.0, 5.1. On my best day, I might play a 4. But when it comes to no limit hold'em, I would say I'm an expert at best and not world class.
I'm so curious with the high-low stuff. Then, like, having been like a very strong specialist in it. I mean, like in the last 5 years, all of these games, like XG came to town in the poker world as well, and everyone's still like reconciling that. Have you gone through like a new wave of study about like solver-based strategy in Omaha or anything like that? Yeah.
I've looked at the solvers for no limit hold'em.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I haven't looked at them for high-low.
Yeah.
The players are too terrible.
Okay.
I don't need a solver. I can. Yeah. That game is it's kind of solved to me.
I got you. Okay. Yeah.
When it comes to limit high-low Omaha. Now, when it comes to pot limit games, it's a much different beast.
Yes.
Because the pot size and the implications of the pot size change the dynamic dramatically. You can make huge mistakes.
Yeah.
But when you're playing limit hold'em or limit Omaha, when you're playing a limit game, it's very hard to blunder.
Yeah.
Because you always have pot odds.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So the big blunders are more like letting a hand go when you had like too good of chances staying in there or something like that, right? One bet is a small mistake, I guess, relatively. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like if there's not going to be huge action on the flop and they can only bet the half unit before that goes to the big bet on the turn.
Yeah.
You're basically going to be seeing half. You call a raise to see the flop. They can only bet. Let's say it's 10-20, and the blinds are 5 and 10, and they make it 20.
Yep.
And you call and you see the flop, and they can only bet 10.
Yeah.
Now you can see the hand of completion for $30 more.
Yeah.
And if it was 5-way action there's $100 in the pot. If it doesn't go crazy raising, you can actually see it all the way to the end for $30.
Yeah.
So the pot size with the risk reward ratio is so skewed compared to pot limit. If there's 100 in the pot, no one can bet 100.
Yeah. Right.
So you can call with bottom pair and a backdoor flush draw.
Right. Yeah.
But in like pot limit hold'em or no limit hold'em, your decisions change a lot based on the betting size.
Yeah.
Now
all that. Yeah.
And there's like some like now in hold'em they've really gone this. The solvers have changed the betting size pre-flop and post-flop quite a bit.
Yeah.
Like everybody used to raise 3 times the blinds.
Right. No, I mean, playing cash games in Texas, or like 1-2 games, especially like casino games too. I feel like it was not at all uncommon for people to open to like 15 or 20 in a 1-2 game. Like this was
Wow.
like I don't
Wow.
know, like that's just what people were doing, you know.
Wow.
And you would never see that online,
Right.
but live people are like, well, yeah, people will still call, so I'm going to use that sizing, you know. Just
That's well, and so I'm when I played in the World Series in 2005, right?
yeah,
And in 2006 I played again, and I played a lot of no limit tournaments in Vegas at different casinos. A three times the blind raised before the flop was even 3 to 5 times was somewhat common.
yeah,
And then when I went back to play poker tournaments again 10 years later, 15 years later
yeah,
in Vegas, people are raising the minimum.
yeah, right, yep,
And when the pot, let's say there's 100 in the pot, they're betting like exactly 25%
right, yeah,
as the continuation bet
yeah,
as just a standard. Where
right,
before guys they were betting the pot.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like you're calling 6 or 7
yeah.
big bets.
That was when I
Um,
was learning. People could not comprehend what the difference between like a pot size bet and bigger than that would really be. Like there's, I know it's an option in No Limit and probably a thing that we should think about, but no one was doing it, and it took
right.
like this different kind of study over the last like 10 to 15 years to realize, oh, there's spots where that's very useful, right? Where
Well,
you
it's
could
crazy,
say,
right? If
yeah,
you always continuation, let's just say when you have position, you always continuation bet 25% of the time, 25% of the pot,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Between 20 and 30% of the time, you continuation bet every single time you have position on the field after you've made a pre-flop raise,
yeah,
and you just put that into effect in live play.
yeah,
It's insane how much money you just pick up.
right, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like,
Yeah, people that hadn't like learned about the check raise, right? And stuff like
yeah.
this. So.
Well, people. I remember when I started playing in the '90s, people would get mad if you check raised them. They would be offended.
Yeah, that's so
Like,
amazing. Yeah,
what a
that there
what
used
a
to be
world.
signs on the wall that like say if the check and raise was allowed or not. Like I don't know. It's just it's pretty
Right,
wild.
check and raise is allowed.
Yeah,
The sign would say check and raise is allowed.
yeah,
Yeah, but I remember playing in Reno in like '97,
hmm,
and I was playing in this 2 to 10 game in Reno,
yeah,
and I check raised I check raised this guy,
yeah,
and it was me and a bunch of locals,
yeah,
right? And I was check raising them. Like the first time, no one said anything.
yeah.
But then the second time I check raised this guy, they're like, "Oh, oh, yeah, we don't do that here." I'm like, "What? Why would you not check raise somebody?" Like to me, it was like, "Why would you?" I mean, this is in Reno, Nevada. I'm like, this should be the check raise capital of the world. But in this like 2 to 10 kind of soft game,
Yeah.
they didn't do that to each other. And I was check raising them like crazy then after that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then they started calling me the Colorado Kid because I was like 25, 26 years old, right? Playing
Yeah.
with all these old dudes. And then there was a stud game going on.
Mhm.
And one of the guys was like, "Hey, you should come play stud with us 2 to 10.
Yeah.
Let's see how." They were like goading me to play. And I
Yeah.
just killed them. I just killed them. I crushed them. Like
Yeah.
because they didn't think that this young guy would be any good at stud.
Right, right. Yeah.
And I mean, but I studied poker back then when I was going to play cash games just as hard as I studied backgammon.
Okay. A lot of play, or were you reading books about it, or what?
I was reading books, and like
Yeah.
I have a library of books in my basement
Yeah.
from Harrington to Super System to
Yeah.
like blackjack counting books. I mean, when I was doing that stuff, I was like trying to give myself any advantage I could.
That's amazing.
And if I had downtime, I was reading those books.
So you've always had this study bug for games, but somehow you have a career along with that. How did that how do you balance your time between those?
Well, so my job has a lot of downtime
Okay.
where we're on call.
Yeah.
Like if
What do
I'm
you
in the
do,
shop,
by the way? I don't think you said that.
I'm a mechanic on the train at the Denver airport.
Oh, cool. Okay, okay. Awesome.
So what happens is we have to have a guy like stationed at every spot in case the train breaks.
Yeah, okay.
The
Okay.
door breaks, a train gets stuck,
Yeah.
whatever happens, right? And so during the week we rotate spots. One day I'll be in the shop, I'll be busy, and I'm working on stuff. So there's no downtime. There's not as much downtime. Okay.
Yeah.
But then there's other times where we're on call, and literally they said, just don't sleep. Keep yourself busy.
Yeah.
Just don't sleep. You got to be able to. Back in the day, they said, just don't sleep. We want you available to act quickly.
Yeah.
Be there fast. So I would just do things to stay busy, to keep busy.
Okay.
So I'd bring my poker book to work. I'd bring my backgammon book to work.
Perfect, man. Yeah.
And I would literally just go until I couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah.
Like my brain was fried. Like, this is too much. I can't look at this anymore. And then I would come back to it, like take a few hours off and come back to it, take a small bite of the book, put it down.
Yeah.
Go make my rounds, look at the station, come back, do another 10 minutes. But like I just kind of engulfed myself into what I was doing. And if I was going to a big tournament, poker tournament, then I went into hyper study drive.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the same kind of thing I do for tournaments. Like whether I'm playing doubles with somebody, we'll practice doubles.
Yeah.
Even before, like, well, if we know we're playing 7-point matches, let's practice 7-point matches as a doubles team.
Yeah.
Before the tournament, like leading, like the month before, they play doubles once a week, right?
Yeah.
So, but let's say I'm playing 15-point matches in Vegas.
Yeah.
What am I going to do from now until Vegas?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna practice 15-point matches.
Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
And go through the pain of how long those are.
Right.
And
I've experienced this as a commentator too. Most of my early stuff was all like 7-point matches, and when I started doing tournaments with like 11, 13, 15, 17, I was like, this is a lot longer to keep focused on this, It's funny.
Yeah, and there's a stamina element, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's involved. So I just try to, like, whatever's next on the agenda, I try to just prep myself.
Hell yeah.
At least to some degree.
It's so cool that it's been like a necessary outlet for your career since day one, basically, that they like work together so well to allow you to focus all this energy you have for improving at these games, And you mentioned too, like, so when poker was like the money was better there, it was starting to distract you from backgammon. Is that when you kind of left backgammon for a period of time?
Yeah, well, so what happened in 2007 or 9 or something like that? I left backgammon for the most part for a couple of years.
Okay. Yeah.
I can't remember exactly what year it was, but I left for a while just to focus on poker.
Yeah.
And I would just play maybe one tournament a year.
Okay.
And then the poker got shut down.
Yeah. Yep.
And so I decided, okay, poker shut down. We had a good run. We made a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the game we really love. Let's go back to backgammon.
Yeah.
So I knew they were going to make me play open.
Yeah.
When I came back. Basically, Howard told me, whether you win this intermediate tournament or not, you're moving up.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right. Well, I did win it. And then but they were moving me up no matter what. So but I did win it, and then I basically focused on poker, and then when the Full Tilt and Poker Stars got shut down, I said, all right, I'm going to come back to backgammon, and this was like in 2012. I made this choice.
Yeah.
I said, I'm going to study backgammon like a fiend for 2 years, and then I'm going to come back.
Yeah, cool.
And then I came back in 2014, played championship, went to San Antonio, lost to Mochi in the final, and then like it's all been history since then. Like but I basically took 2 years, Nick.
Yeah.
And just focused on backgammon like a crazy person, like 40, 50, 60 hours a week.
Yeah. I can't say there's a whole lot of students that are coming to me saying, like, I want to be good at backgammon 2 years from now, and I want to work as hard as I can at it until then. Like that's an amazing mindset to have for it, for sure.
You have to be crazy.
Yeah.
Literally crazy. Like
I think so, a little bit.
And you have to be a little crazy, and you have to really love it.
Yeah.
And be really be very intrigued by the nuance.
Yeah.
So that you can just keep plugging and plugging and plugging. I mean, like, who spends 2 hours on one position? Right?
Yeah. Depends.
Like
maybe.
Sometimes you need to.
Right. Yep.
right? And like I was reading like probably like 15, 20 minutes in the morning, and then I would stop. I'd be like, okay, I got to learn this concept before I move on. And I was
Yeah.
reading slow, like
Yeah.
really trying to. I didn't leave a chapter until I knew what the concept was,
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
right? And then I would write notes down to kind of summarize what I took from this chapter,
Yeah. That's
and
awesome.
then I would just systematically do this. And the main book back then for me was Modern Backgammon by Roberti.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's a good one. Yeah.
Um, because it was dealing with the bot, and
Yeah.
I was using Snowy
Okay.
uh, before XG.
Yeah.
I never used the other one before that, Jellyfish. I never used that,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but I was like, there's no way I'm going to risk this kind of money playing in the open and not have a reasonable chance to fight against these geniuses.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was just like, it's double the buy-in, and like these are the best players in the world. Some of them are legends,
Yeah. Yep.
and you're gonna pay a hotel, and you're gonna fly there, and you're gonna
Yeah.
pay all $500 for the buy-in, and it was back then. It was a ton of money to me.
Yeah.
And it's still not no money now, but it's
Sure.
back then it was like a big deal. So I was
Yeah.
um like fiercely competitive because
Mm.
this money mattered,
Yeah.
right?
Were you going into those expecting that like you could travel to enough tournaments and like profit all that? Like, was it a professional endeavor in a way, or were you already thinking of it as more like this is a fun thing that I like to go compete at?
No, I was expecting to at least break even
I got you. Okay.
throughout
It's
the
hard
year.
to do with all the travel and stuff like that, you know?
I didn't think that I was going to be profitable.
Yeah. Okay.
I just didn't want it to be a big leak.
Yeah. 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 Sure. That makes sense.
So if I didn't feel like I could compete and at least be at a break even level,
Yeah.
I was going to keep studying until I could get there.
Yeah. Yeah. You're there
You
now,
know?
man. You seem to show up in like the finals of a ton of events whenever you go out there, you know? Your results speak for themselves, I think. Um, are you motivated by like the ABT tour points or anything like that?
I can't really focus on the ABT point system until I retire. I think
Ah, okay.
I just
Just not
I
enough
don't have
tournaments. Yeah.
I just don't have enough vacation to
Yeah.
really
I got
like
you.
do that. I can't I really wanted to go to Atlanta next week,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And because I love Jeff and he runs a great tournament, and I like a lot of the people that are at that tournament.
Yeah.
But I just can't go to everything. Like
Right.
I've never been to Cherry Blossom. I really want to go to that one, but like Vegas is a great tournament for me. It's
Yeah.
close.
Yeah.
It's cheaper. It's like it's more bang for the buck for the tournament,
Yeah.
So I kind of have to pick and choose. Like last year I missed a ton of tournaments
Mhm.
because I went to Monte Carlo and Cyprus.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I missed both Vegas tournaments for the first time last year
Yeah. Yep.
because I was doing that. You just got to pick when you have a job. You got to be really
Oh, no,
careful,
yeah.
right?
I know that
So-
scheduling game for sure. I've played that, trying to figure out at the beginning of the year, it'd be like, what are my 4 for the year going to be? And like, I'm already booking my vacation through the end because I know which tournaments I want to go to, right? And so it's
Right.
like easy to
Right.
plan out that way, you know? Yeah.
Well, and to be honest, I actually enjoy teaching
Yeah.
more than I like playing.
Yeah. Same, man. Yeah.
So I love competing.
Yeah.
I love the tournament vibe. I love to try to win the trophy.
Yeah.
I love that whole thing, right? But it's the teaching aspect or the coaching aspect at the tournaments for me, and like seeing the people like get better and like start to torture other people and stuff. Like for me, that's where the juice is.
Yeah. Yeah. Of
That's
course.
that's for me, the lifeblood is when I see people like tell me, you know what? This lesson's free this week because my club's paying for it.
Yeah. Nice.
Because they're beating them in the shoe, or they're beating
Yeah.
them, or they won the tournament that week in their club, and they're like, "Oh, this lesson's free," or "All my lessons this month are free because of the club," or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the vampire in me loves the blood
yes.
of hearing those stories, right?
Absolutely,
and
man. Yeah.
It's much like I remember one of my coworkers was like, "Are you still teaching backgammon and coaching backgammon?" I'm like, "Yeah, I mean it's what I love doing. I mean,
Yeah.
and they're like, aren't you getting burned out? I mean, don't you like reach the end of the rainbow? I said, no, this game is so complicated.
Right.
Like, you can literally learn something new all the time.
Yeah.
And they're like, wow, that's crazy. I said, and when you see other people, like the light bulb goes on,
Yeah.
all that does is put more wind beneath my wings.
I love that too, man. When
I
you
mean,
come up with
that's
like a little bit more elegant way of explaining a thing that just like sinks in a little easier, right? Like those are great moments for sure. I love that. And it like for me it like translates well with the commentary too. It's like now I have another tool for describing positions easily to new players or something like that, you know? So, but I mean, I love thinking about the game that way too. It's like fun to get better at it, but it's definitely more fun to me to be like teaching and explaining and bringing people into it, you know? It's there's a little bit of stress that comes along with also trying to perform at your absolute best in these tournaments, you know?
Sure.
It's harder work. It's a different kind of work, you know? Yeah.
Well, and the mental focus at the tournament, like it's crazy. Like I'll think I'm playing completely like garbage.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, because everything's going sideways.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I get the PR back and I played like 3.7.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I was getting crushed, but I still played. I thought I was playing terrible because I was getting crushed.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the case. And then you blow someone off the board and you play a 6.
Right.
Right.
Course. That's how it tends to go. Yeah.
Right.
Things and you don't even think about, like, oh, I massively missed this opportunity. Okay. But it didn't care because the dice saved me. You know. So.
Yeah, exactly. Or like your blunder is that was the only spot that because of the next sequence, your blunder, that's the only way that would have worked.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And you're like, wow, in the moment I thought I was brilliant, and you realize you were completely off, right? But I just like I go back and look at some of the matches like from San Antonio, like I played pretty strong almost every match. It was crazy. It was like 2.7, 3.3, 3.7, 1.6, a 4.1, a 4.0, like and I'm very happy with that, you know.
Yeah.
When I if I have 1.6 or 8 in a tournament, but the rest are like 3, 4, 5. That's kind of where I like to float in the water in that spot, right?
Yeah, it's a good range, yeah.
But you know, it's really difficult to be a 3.5, 4.5 like a robot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's like too much caffeine, my blood sugar is low, whatever it is. Like you know, I needed to eat, or I'm over caffeinated, or like it's a balance. Like I've been trying to kind of work a routine to where like I study a little bit or I practice a little bit. I eat light before the tournament. I eat light at dinner. Like I've been trying this new thing where like I don't now in Texas I didn't have a big dinner the whole time.
Yeah.
No way. Like they have this all you can eat thing that you can go to at Texas. Like you're never going to see me there.
Yeah.
Because I know if I eat a big dinner and then I go back to the tournament room, it's kind of a shit show.
Yeah. No, you got to have control of all this stuff. Like what's your plan for like your workout and staying active, and is that going to affect you if you're like off for 5 days straight? Yeah, what are the meals that are going to keep you energized and focused on the game but not like tired or not feeling ill or whatever that might be? How do you get enough rest after being like wired all night playing backgammon? You know, it's hard to go to sleep after that sometimes. So
you play, right? Let's say you play 10, 11 hours that day.
Right. Yeah.
And then now you're expected to just shut it down and go to sleep.
Yeah. You better have something.
It's like it's not easy, you know.
And these, fiction book for me. I can do it every time with that, but I gotta do something, you know. Yeah.
And I found that the better way for me to sleep is like use like the same noise machine I have at home.
Yeah.
If like they have them in Texas.
Yeah. That was super nice.
But if I go somewhere else, I got to take my noise machine with me.
Yeah.
If I'm staying somewhere else, because you try to mimic your home life as much as possible if you can.
Yeah.
Because it makes a difference in how you sleep.
Of course, for both of us too. Are you gonna brave the shitty hotel coffee, or are you gonna bring your own solution? Right? How much comfort is that gonna provide? So
well, like in Texas, I brought a whole different carry-on.
Yeah.
A whole different, no, a check bag.
Yeah.
And all it had in it was my frother, my water boiler,
Oh yeah.
my pour over, the
Yeah.
coffee, healthy snacks.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm bringing a whole check baggage just for that,
Yeah.
right? And I
Yeah.
don't do that to every tournament, but
Hmm.
um, it's it's more likely than not that I'm going to try to do that always because
Yeah.
it makes a significant difference. You don't have to leave the room.
Yeah. 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 I want to do everything in my control to perform my best, like at the hotel, just like physically and mentally that way, right? It's not
Hmm.
all about like the study is one thing, but when you're there, you got to set yourself up to perform every day, you know? Yeah, I don't
For
think
sure.
people tend to think a lot about that, but I do, and it's always cool to like hear how other people plan around that and everything too. Um, but so when you talk about like the PR goals too, um, are you motivated at all by like BMAB titles or the UBC or anything like that? Or are you more of like you want to go play the
I,
big
I
grind
would
events?
I wouldn't mind doing BMAB events if I had more vacation.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
But like now I either if I'm going to do BMAB events, then I got to cut other tournaments out
Yeah,
because I just don't have that many days,
yeah,
right?
gotcha.
And
Yeah,
I kind of know where I play.
yeah, yeah,
I don't like need to do the BMAP to know where I'm at. Like
yeah.
I kind of know.
You seem like more of a
So
results person that way anyway too, though. Like if you're winning tournaments, then you're doing the things the way you want to, and who cares what the PR is along with that, other than like a measure of my practice and stuff, you know?
like winning the Masters
Yeah,
in, at an event, like winning the Longhorn last year,
yeah.
or right,
Congratulations.
yeah, yeah, it was really that was cool, right?
Yeah,
And then before that, I won the 5K jackpot in Vegas, right? And
nice. Yeah,
I played uh, Michi, Mochi, MCG, and Dana to win that, right?
nice. Okay, it's tough to get a harder run of opponents than that.
Well, it meant more to me winning that than any BMAP title.
Yeah, of course, of course. I bet, man. Yeah,
I mean, like winning the Longhorn means way more to me than that I played a 4.0 BMAB
yeah,
or less, right?
yeah,
I mean, and it's not. I think when I retire, you're going to see me more everywhere the whole time. Do the
yeah.
BMAB, do this, do that. But like in the same sense too, I believe like when I go to a tournament, I normally only play 3 events
Hmm. Hmm.
because I want to be the best I can in those events.
Yeah,
And if I play like the Blitz and both jackpots and the Open and the doubles, like it's like a lot of times these tournaments, if you're winning, you get bottlenecked and you're just like it's kind of a stressful situation.
yeah,
And oh, your doubles partner's gonna have to play by themselves, and you're gonna have to play till 3 in the morning now because you're still alive in these events, and you're gonna miss the Super Bowl again because you're still playing, which is not a bad thing. But if you're playing too many events, I've just noticed when I tried to before play everything, speed gammon, blitz, open, jackpot, doubles, DMP, it's just too much.
yes, yeah,
And if it was up to me, the side events wouldn't start until you were out of other things.
yeah,
Like you can't even sign up. Let's say, the doubles takes time. So maybe the doubles, the jackpot, and the open.
yeah,
But and you should never be alive in more than I would say 4 events maximum. And if it was up to me, it would only be 3. So let's say you get knocked out of the open. Well, then you play the blitz or
yeah,
you play speed gammon or whatever,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
But like it's really tough at some of these tournaments when some people are into everything and
yeah.
then you're waiting hours to play.
Right. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like I've had it where I've waited 4 hours to play and they're like, you have to play this match tonight, and I'm
Right.
like,
Right.
I've been available for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Well, this guy is playing this one and this takes priority and blah blah blah, but they're in just too many events.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I really loved about like how the tournaments were run in Monte Carlo and Cyprus.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like the international crowds got this down a little bit better. Like Arda, especially.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude,
Yeah.
even Arda and the Pasha tournament,
Yeah.
you had a time that your matches were going to start
Yep.
every hour on the hour.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like
Yeah. It's beautiful, man. Like the way the organization that they bring to it with like the scale of tournaments and stuff is like so inspiring to me, you know? I hope that it feels like the U.S. is catching up in ways with that, but it's like once I started going to these international ones, it just felt a step behind, you know? And I was like, this is really something else over here. Yeah.
And I know the tournament directors want to make, they make a lot of money on the side events because the rank's higher or whatever.
Yeah.
But, for the flow of the tournament, I just wish we would do like,
yes.
Let's say
totally
let's start the Open on Thursdays and the jackpots on Thursdays.
Yeah.
And then like see where after the fights are over and the dust settles.
Yeah.
Start the other side events on like Friday night or Saturday morning early.
Yeah.
Because like, and then you do it. Then you can focus on your side events.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I don't know exactly the best method for this or the best solution. That we could do. Somebody maybe could try some different things. Maybe Dan here in Colorado could try some different things one year, or somebody that runs 2 tournaments a year like Rory could try something like this because Vegas is a long tournament, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's Wednesday to Sunday.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's always a really chill schedule too. I've always appreciated that about the Vegas tournament. You got plenty of time to get out if you want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I would like to see a change in that we're not freaking out on Saturday night.
Yeah.
That you got to play.
The Friday, Saturday, Sunday is tough.
Like you got to be here at 9 a.m. to play this match, even though we don't start till 11, and then people are playing till 3 in the morning. Like that's not optimal for performance for people.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's my soapbox on that. But
I love it, man. I appreciate that. Well, cool. This has been like brilliant. The one thing we didn't talk about was like maybe the one thing you have to advertise on here is your like Backgammon merch shop on Etsy, the bandana hammock. It's hard not to say that as the
bandana hammock.
Yeah, bandana hammock.
And you just go to it's not banana hammock, it's bandana.
It's difficult not to say the one that you know.
Yeah. What's funny is it's such a good play on words that you'll remember it.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And you just remember bandana hammock. And hopefully I'll get some of my other. I have like a handful of designs out already.
Yeah, you always have the funniest shirts out at tournaments, man. I love them. Yeah.
So like we had the unicorn picture that we had. We both had our unicorn shirts on.
Oh, I'm using that for the thumbnail. You better believe it.
It's so good. I'm wearing my unicorny and you got your Satan unicorn going, But like, yeah, I would like to put some more shirts out. I mean, I basically give all the money to my kid. I don't get a dime out of it. It's just to support him.
Okay.
Doing his thing.
Yeah.
And paying off his college and stuff like that. So
yeah, we need more community stuff like that. And I like my favorite is still the rigged dice bag is just brilliant. Like I can't believe no one else. Yeah, what a necessary thing for our community.
So eventually, that was like a tester item, and I had them made, and they were not the best quality, but they're funny and all that. So I'm working on an embroidered one, better quality that's going to last. And
okay.
Those will go up on the Etsy shop as well, in the Backgammon merch section.
If you haven't seen those, they're little like cloth pouches for putting your dice in, and they say in script rigged on them, which is fantastic. I don't know. It's just super funny. What was the other one you were telling me about that you were like, maybe it was going to go on there, but hadn't made its way to the store yet? Oh, there was something. I forgot though. Oh, your Blunder Boy sweatshirt that you got
Blunder Boy
on there. Yeah.
Well, here I'm here. I'll show you.
Sure.
You can see it right here.
Yeah, there we go. Very nice.
So,
I like that.
So that became like when I was during COVID, I was running some backgammon tournaments for a while until people started doing them.
Yeah.
I was running like jackpots on Saturdays for a while, and then everybody started running tournaments, and then I quit doing it. I just did it because no one was doing it, and people were asking me to do it. I did that for a few months, and Blunder Boys became the way I brought people together. I made a thing on Facebook.
Yeah.
A page on Facebook, and that's where I would like list like what the tournament was and when it was and all that. And that's kind of how it was born. And then I was like, well, I'm the Blunder Boy of Blunder Boys. So that's kind of how it all kind of just came about.
Beautiful, man. Well, it's all like consistent with this theme of keeping the game fun, right? And making it like
Yes.
accessible to people in a different way, which I think is so important. I appreciate that a ton. You're always super fun to like see out at tournaments for that reason, man. I definitely get why people like to work with you as a coach like so often. People can reach out on Facebook if they're interested in taking lessons with you, right?
Yep. They can reach out to me on Facebook, or my Gmail is
Okay.
available. They
Yeah,
can
yeah.
do that.
Throw that in there. Well, this has been awesome, man. We almost made like 2 hours. This is one of the longer ones
Wow.
I've done. I feel like I could talk to you all day about this stuff, though. You know, you're a good
People are going to be asleep. People are going to be asleep.
No, they're
after
gonna
an
be so
hour.
engaged and wide-eyed about like your poker journey and everything, man. I don't know. I think this is really interesting. I had a blast, Jonah. We can always get back and do more of this sometime too, you know. But I do have to go to more setup for tournaments and things like that. So I gotta get out of here. But I appreciate you so much. Thank you everyone for watching. If you made it this far, right, in a long interview.
Exactly.
We'll be back with more on Fridays. And yeah. Thank you again, Jonah Seewald, for joining me.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.